Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Ready to dive into something new today?
Absolutely. Always ready to dive in.
Today we're tackling AI in qualitative research. Specifically, we're asking, can AI really analyze interviews and text as well as a human researcher can?
It's a question everyone's asking these days.
And should it even be trying? To help us unpack all this, we're looking at Susanne Friese's blog on Qualudra.com.
She's got a great series on the responsible use of AI in qualitative analysis. Really gets you thinking.
It does, and I like that she brings a bit of caution to all the AI hype too.
Yeah, she's definitely not jumping on the AI will solve everything bandwagon.
Exactly. For example, she talks about this thing called a context window that AI has to work with, and honestly, it has me a little concerned.
Yes, the context window. That's a really important concept to understand because it highlights a big limitation with AI.
Okay, so what is it? Like, how big is this window?
Well, think of it like AI's short-term memory, right?
Okay.
It can only hold so much information at once.
Hmm. So how does that impact, like, analyzing an interview transcript? Those can get long.
That's exactly the problem. You feed the AI, say, a 200-page transcript.
Yeah.
It might do a great job at the first few pages, but
But
as it keeps reading, it can actually forget what it analyzed earlier. It's wild.
whoa, hold on. So it's like trying to understand a whole story, but you're only allowed to read every other chapter?
Kinda. It's trying to make connections with only a limited piece of the puzzle.
That's not super reassuring if you want a holistic understanding, right?
Right. And that's exactly why Friese advocates for a more hands-on approach, something she calls conversational analysis with AI.
Conversational. So I was supposed to chat with the AI about my research now.
Well, not exactly chat, but it's more about engaging with it dynamically.
Okay.
Imagine you've got this research assistant who's great at finding information,
Okay, I like that.
but they need some guidance. You need to ask the right questions to get what you need. That's the heart of conversational AI.
So I'm not handing over the reins completely.
Right. It's more like a collaboration.
I'm intrigued. So how does a conversation like that actually work?
Friese gives a great example in her blog. She was analyzing interviews about work-life balance.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Instead of just asking the AI to summarize everything, she started by asking for summaries of each interview. But she focused on specific things like people's daily routines and how satisfied they were with their work-life balance.
So she's using those summaries as a jumping off point.
Exactly.
But then what?
Well, then she digs deeper.
Like what kinds of questions? Give me the nitty-gritty.
Let's say she noticed that a few people mentioned feeling stressed because they weren't spending enough time with family.
Yeah, that's relatable.
So she might ask the AI, what are the main reasons these people give for feeling this way? Or how do their work situations seem to play into this stress?
Oh, I see. So she's pushing the AI to find the why, not just the what. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And it's about going beyond just individual experiences, too.
Oh, how so?
She can ask the AI to start comparing and contrasting different interviewees.
Oh, interesting. So she might ask something like, how did the experiences of parents differ from those who aren't parents?
Exactly. Or what are some common strategies people are using to try to create a better balance?
Wow, you can really start to uncover some fascinating insights that way. So much richer than just a basic summary.
Absolutely. It's about using the AI to reveal those hidden connections in your data. And that's where things start to get really interesting from an ethical standpoint, too.
Oh, ethical? How so?
It really comes down to this. AI is a tool. Like any tool, you can use it well, or you can really mess things up.
Okay, so how do we make sure we're using it well, especially in qualitative research where things can get kind of messy?
Right. It's not like you can just plug in a formula and get all the answers.
Definitely not. So where do we even begin?
Well, Friese actually lays out some really practical strategies in her blog.
Oh, perfect. Lay it on me.
She emphasizes this idea of starting small.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
It's tempting to think, I've got this powerful AI, I'm going to feed it all my data.
Right. Get it over with.
But remember that whole context window thing?
Right. AI's short-term memory, limited capacity, all that.
Exactly. If you start with a smaller chunk of data, maybe a few key interviews to begin with,
Okay.
you can get a feel for how the AI handles your specific data. You can spot any weird blind spots early on, and you can refine your approach before you unleash it on everything.
Makes sense. Like a test run before the big race.
Exactly. Then, as you get more comfy, the next thing is being really, really intentional about the questions you ask.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. So what makes a good question for AI in this context?
Clarity, clarity, clarity. Vague questions get you vague answers, right?
Right. That's true for most things in life, I guess.
Exactly. So really think, what are you truly curious about? And how can you phrase your questions to guide the AI toward truly insightful answers?
Can you give me an example? Like, how would I phrase a question for AI differently than I might ask a human research assistant?
Sure. Let's say you're interested in how people perceive a new product.
Yeah.
Instead of asking the AI, what do people think about this product, which is super open-ended,
Yeah, it's pretty broad.
you could ask, what are the three most common positive sentiments expressed about this product? And then follow up with, what are the three most common negative sentiments? You're giving the AI a framework to work with.
Oh, that's much more specific. I get it. It's about guiding the analysis, not just letting it run wild.
Exactly. And this leads us to Friese's third strategy, which is all about embracing the iterative nature of qualitative analysis.
Iterative. So we're not just feeding the data to the AI, getting the answers, and calling it a day.
Definitely not. Qualitative analysis is about going back and forth, refining your interpretations as you go.
Right, right. So how does that work with AI? Give me an example.
Let's say you used AI to analyze a few interviews, and you noticed a theme about how people communicate at work.
Okay, I'm following.
You could then go back to your data and ask the AI to look specifically at the language people use when they talk about communication.
So you're using the AI to double-check your observations, to go deeper.
Exactly. Or you could even use the AI to challenge your own assumptions.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
Let's say you're convinced that a certain communication style is, like, super common in a certain age group.
Okay.
You could ask the AI to show you examples that go against that, to prove you wrong.
That's a great way to avoid confirmation bias. You're making sure you're not just seeing what you want to see.
Exactly. It's about using the AI to help you stay objective and open to new interpretations.
This is really resonating with me.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, how does this actually play out in the real world? Like, do you have any examples of researchers actually using this conversational AI approach to get some cool results?
Funny you should ask. Friese actually dedicates a big chunk of her blog to a case study where she does exactly that.
Well, don't leave me hanging. We've got to hear about this, but we'll have to save that juicy deep dive for part 3. And we're back, ready to dive into that case study you teased.
Absolutely. It's a good one.
Lay it on me. How does Friese actually use this conversational AI approach in her research?
So she starts with interviews about work-life balance, right?
Lots of rich data there.
Exactly. And the first thing she does is give the AI some context.
Context. Like what?
You know, the goals of her research, the types of people she interviewed, the key themes she's interested in, that sort of thing.
So it's like giving your AI assistant a quick briefing before handing over a task.
Exactly. You don't want to send it in blind.
Makes sense. So then how does she use the AI to analyze the interview transcripts themselves?
She starts by asking for summaries of each interview, but not just generic summaries. She's smart about it.
Smart how?
She tells the AI to focus on specific things like, how do people describe their daily routines? How satisfied are they with their work-life balance? What are their biggest sources of stress? That kind of thing.
So she's guiding the AI towards what's relevant to her research question.
Exactly. And remember that context window.
Oh, right, right. It can only handle so much at once.
Yep. So she's feeding the AI one interview at a time to make sure it really understands each person's story.
Got it. So she's got her individual summaries. What's next? This is where it gets really conversational, right?
Right, because she doesn't just take those summaries at face value.
She pushes back, like, how?
Let's say she notices that a couple people mentioned feeling guilty about not spending enough time with family.
Yeah, that's a common one, sadly.
Right. So she might ask the AI, what are the main reasons these people give for feeling this way? Is there a pattern?
Oh, interesting.
Or how do their work situations seem to be contributing to this guilt?
It's like she's having a real conversation trying to get to the bottom of things.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just individual experiences, too. Once she has a feel for what each person is saying, she starts comparing and contrasting.
So, like, how do the experiences of parents differ from those who aren't parents?
Exactly. Or what are some common strategies people are using to try to create a better balance?
You can really uncover some cool stuff that way.
Totally. And it helps her spot those patterns and connections that might not have been obvious just from reading the transcripts.
Right, because the AI can process so much more information so much faster.
Exactly. But here's the thing. At no point does she just blindly trust the AI.
Okay, good. I was about to say.
She constantly goes back to the original interviews, double-checking the AI's interpretations, making sure they're really accurate.
It's like a trust but verify approach. I like it.
Exactly. And she documents everything, every prompt, every question, every response.
Oh, wow, that must be a lot of documentation.
It is, but that way her entire process is transparent and replicable, and she can always go back and see how she arrived at her conclusions.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. I'm feeling way more informed about AI and qualitative research.
Glad to hear it.
Any final words of wisdom for our listeners before we wrap things up?
Just remember what Friese keeps emphasizing. AI is a powerful tool, but it's not a magic solution. It takes thought, care, and a whole lot of curiosity to use it well.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay.
A huge thank you to Susanne Friese for giving us so much to think about, and to our listeners, happy diving.